Backyard Wrestling fans, welcome to another episode of the SmackYard Radio Podcast. Just backyard wrestlers shooting the shit, telling stories about wrestling. And if you guys haven't checked out the first episode, I did it with the devil himself, Sam Reeves. And in today's episode, we get a little legendary with one of the founding fathers of legendary backyard wrestling. He's the Alpha. He's a fuck. Goddamn, I cannot talk. But we got CJ Jundt here, or now known just the Alpha. You'll always be CJ to me. But real quick, before we get on to discussing some backyard wrestling, quick shout out to our sponsors of this podcast. We got SportsWire Radio, where you guys can hear this podcast via the listen now button on sportswire.org or whatever the fuck it is. And then we got the Backyard Wrestling Nexus, the home of some of the best backyard wrestling of today's generation. But today we got CJ Jundt. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing wonderful. It's good to be here with you, man.
Man,
good to be on.
Our last podcast together was goddamn 3 years ago. 3 years ago. That was on the FBW Undisputable podcast, my first ever podcast. A lot has happened. A lot has happened since that podcast, brother.
Yes. Way a lot. Pages, chapters, everything. You can name it. Books.
So one of the things that we should get into immediately is why the change from CJ Jundt to just the Alpha? Why cut out your whole name and just be the Alpha?
Well, so it was kind of it was actually a process. So kind of how it went was, so CJ Jundt was doing his thing in LWW, and when we first started, and I've explained this before, when we first started, it was it was real backyard wrestling. We actually wrestled like as if we were mat wrestling, amateur wrestling. And I think we stopped about March or April 2021. And that little span that we were doing it, and it was actually real wrestling. I shouldn't quote it. It was real wrestling. I just so happened to go, I think it was like 4-0 or 5-0, something like that. It just so happened to be. So then I had this idea when we started, doing it how we do it now. Think about it, process it, go through it and plan everything. You understand. When we started doing it like that, we kind of went on this thought, and I said a really good idea is because we were building up Pinball Aiden at the time to be this big guy. And it's unfortunate that he didn't stay with us because he was supposed to be like the next top dude. He was.
Oh, really?
And during the summer of 21, he actually ended up getting hurt. Well, in the spring, he ended up breaking his foot, non-wrestling related. And then during the summer anyway, he was going on vacation to actually New York, where you're from, to Buffalo. That's where his father lives. He went to go visit his father and stay with him for the summer. So we wrote him off screen, and during that time I was still undefeated, and so I thought about this Goldberg gimmick. I was like, well, let's have me go undefeated, and then we bring back Aiden, and Aiden, first guy to beat me. And by the time he was supposed to come back, he came back later than he thought he was, so plans kind of got a little bit derailed, and I actually ended up losing first in a triple threat match, but I wasn't pinned, so it was still to kind of protect me, but okay, I finally lost, and I lost the world title. Well, then the next match, I was going to redo my rematch clause, but then that's when we brought Pinball Aiden back in, and he fought me with my rematch clause on the line. He beat me, and then he would go on to eventually win the world title, and it did work for a little bit. It just didn't work as good as we thought it would. And then after that, my character for CJ then became from this top, not so much a heel, but so much like it's more of the heelish side, but it was just more of like arrogancy, like, oh, I'm undefeated world champion, and I actually became the belt collector. Like every belt that LWW had at that time, I grabbed it all. Because again, I was going for the like Goldberg-esque freak, if you will. So that was like a more like I'm just arrogant and superior. Not so much heel. It just was like the truth, if you will.
I mean, shit. Like you were just explaining, you like when you guys were doing like the real stuff, shit, you were undefeated. So
Right.
I mean
It
that's some
just kind of slipped
confidence.
in. Right, exactly. And so that's what we did. And then after that, I went on like a 9 match losing streak. Lost all my belts. I lost everything, and eventually ended up into me losing control of the company in kayfabe, which is when the Wilster took over, and the Wilster became owner of LBW in the beginning of 22. And then so from there, we tried to build CJ up from a man who had it all to a man who's got nothing, and he's got to work his way up to the top, which is like pure baby faced. Like work to the top, fight to get back to the top, back to all the power, world championship, everything, and that's what we did. Eventually, Hellfest 2 at the end of 22. That's what I did. Finally, after overcoming the PBS and after overcoming the Wilster, I got control of the company back. I got the world title back for the second time, and everything was all said and good. And then in 23, we kind of rode that strive of like I was good, but then the crowd started to turn on you a bit. And so every once in a while in a match, a little heelish tactic, nothing too crazy, but maybe an accidental low blow or an accidental eye poke or an accidental something happened to let me win. And then after the match, after I won, I would try to shake their hand. I'd try to, I apologize so that I'm still this good guy. I'm not a bad guy. I'm a good guy, just in denial. And then eventually that's when we brought in Napalm. Napalm was then brought in, and he was supposed to be my like we're supposed to have each other's backs type of deal. Not necessarily a team, but just like I I'm his manager, he's my manager, that type of deal. And then we decided to go with this route where because we only had him for a short time at that time because Napalm signed with us about a month-long contract. So like, all right, shit, we gotta speed this up. So then we had it to where I lost the world title and I blamed him. So now I fully on turned heel from being babyface, turned heel, full on. I blamed him. He's the reasoning I lost everything now. The world title, he had something to do with it just because he was in my corner. And all that shenanigans. We did our stuff. We had a rivalry, and then Dalton left. Sorry, Napalm left. Dalton's his real name. Napalm left because he had to go back home. And that's kind of what kind of left us a little bit like, well, dang, we didn't finish our story. Not to not to be too
Hold on,
cliche.
let's not get WWE coming on here, stopping the
Right.
podcast now.
Right. We don't want to get sued here. We don't want to get sued here, people. Trademark pending. um, but yeah, so then he was gone for a while. We did what we did. I still stayed heel, about the same type of character. And then at the end of the year, December of 23, Napalm came back. We filmed our match for Resolutions, which came out in January 24. And that's when Napalm finally truly, because I mean, throughout, between the time that he left and before that match, me and Napalm, in our group chats, on social media, everything, we kept talking so much crap to each other, uh, uh, you know, F bombs and anything you can imagine, in character, just really talking as much shit as we could to really, because we knew at some point we were going to get him back, whether he was coming up to visit North Dakota and he was going to film with us, or which ended up did happening, where he just instead moved back up here. At least at some point we knew we were going to get that to happen, and it was supposed to be at Hellfest 3 in 2023, but he wasn't able to make it up here in time, so that's why it didn't happen. And instead happened on Resolutions. At Resolutions, he made me tap. And then I thought that was a very fitting end to the CJ arc. Like,
Oh no, that has to be one of the best collab shows. And I think y'all
I,
guys main evented that year, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't remember. Maybe. I can't remember, honestly.
No, wait,
It's
no, that was
everything
CVW.
blurs. So, but that was kind of like the end. Like, oh, CJ tapped out for the first time in his career, and he just couldn't climb that mountain. He couldn't beat Napalm, and that was supposed to be it. And then I thought about it more, and I was like, yeah, we can bring him back, but I don't want to come back. It's just CJ, like CJ Jundt. He did his thing. It's like You can only have so much, and you just can't overstay your welcome. You don't
Yeah,
want to get
you
stale.
gotta adapt, you gotta change, you gotta evolve.
Right. And of all people, I mean, my goodness, you've changed yourself, what, six, seven times?
Shit,
Eight?
I was just myself. Then I was the evil heart. Then I was the Messiah,
Yep.
the Saint. Now I'm the Razor Rage.
Crazy. And that's awesome. Like the fact that when someone can constantly reinvent themselves, you know, keep turning the
Yeah, I'm not
wheel,
gonna lie.
it's
I don't like. Obviously, like I'm not the Razor Rage in real life. I mean, obviously, let's. This is proof right here. I don't really know where I go. Honestly, I don't know where I go. After the Razor Rage, I've made it to where like behind the scenes, like in my
yeah,
vision. I don't want to go back to the Saint of backyard wrestling. Like I like that chapter has closed. I'm the Razor Rage, right? But obviously, like plans change, plans happen, shit happens. I'm not gonna be the Razor Rage forever, you know.
right, right, right.
I mean, at least I don't think that's what's FPW gonna call for. So I don't know where I go after the Razor Rage. I'm not gonna lie.
I got a good idea. I think I know where you can go after the Razor Edge. You ready?
All right, let me
Hold
hear
on
it
to your
out.
butt. Hold on to your butts. Here we go. A rapper gimmick.
Look, I'm like you, brother. I'm a John Cena mark, but me rapping, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yes, you can come out as the the undisputable doctor. You know what I mean?
He said, man, this man has so many frustrations. I've committed my life to rapping. I'm gonna diss track all these fuckers.
Exactly,
Yo,
man. Drop some hard disses.
remember we had a wrestler, Dante Kruger. He was Jay Swervo in his early days. That
Okay.
was the original plan for him. I wanted him to
Really?
come out and do like the John Cena shit and like come out and like you know do like live raps and like shit like in the ring
That'd be cool.
because he was already doing like rap like SoundCloud shit and like making you
Mhm.
like music videos and like
Oh
doing
man,
songs. So I was like, let's try to
SoundCloud.
like do like, but he's like, nah,
Yeah,
it takes a process. I gotta think it out and it takes time. And he couldn't just spit on the mic like whatever.
sure, sure.
That would have been dope. That would have been
That
dope.
that would have been really cool. I, who does that really? That's kind of something.
I mean, really, the only guy pro that does it is like the acclaimed.
Well, right. I mean, in the yard, like
But in the
you
yard,
don't
nah,
really.
I don't even know any. I mean, the only music guy I
All right.
know is Matsuda from Wrestling Zero, but that I mean,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I guess he does like rap or whatever hybrid he does, but yeah, that's what I wanted from Jay Swervo, Dante Kruger. But anyway, back to how you became just the alpha.
Oh, um, where was I? Oh, yeah. So like I said, that CJ chapter was kind of done, and so we gave it a couple months. We came back and we started doing our first couple shows. I think we got a couple throwdowns in, and I think we got an episode or two or three episode of OWN, and then I think we got through Unity as well. And then by the time we came up, we got our first pay per view of the year, which was Golden Ticket. Our first time ever doing Golden Ticket. And it was a really cool idea. Not my idea, by the way. It was actually someone who's wrestled on OW before, Jenny. Ragnarok's mom. She kind of came up with the idea, and we went in with that. And it was a really good idea. So that show came, and I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the time to come back. And so throughout these months, I was thinking, how can I come back? Because again, I don't want to come back as CJ. I can't come back as CJ. That would everything we did with Napalm. That would just toss that out the water. Like we're not going to do that. So we thought about it, and I thought maybe I can go really dark because I don't want to go babyface, and I'm heel, but I can go dark heel, and that's what we did. And I kind of thought about it. We started putting up a little bit of teasers here and there throughout the couple weeks before Golden Ticket started to air. And then I returned that Golden Ticket, and that's when I came out as just the Alpha commentary. And the announcers announced me as CJ the Alpha Jundt. I wrestled as CJ the Alpha Jundt after I wrestled Azul Noche. After the match was done, then we had a post match interview where I stated for sure right there that CJ was done, CJ was dead. CJ was gone. He tapped out for the first time. He quit for the first time. He couldn't keep up. He's out the water. The Alpha is the only part that came back and he remains. And he's on one mission, and that one mission is the very thing that he's always wanted and that he was at the beginning of his career at the top of, and then was the top of the mountain. World champion, top of the mountain, owner of the company. Those three things. That's what the Alpha was striving to do. And
So
so that's
so
what he
so
did.
so the alpha was is more of per se like an alter ego to just you.
Yeah, it's like Slim Shady to Eminem.
So was there any so like when you were taking your time away to come back for like the rebrand like the repackage or whatever, was there any other ideas of like you are gonna come back as something else, not just you were just gonna drop the CJ part? Was there any ideas that you were gonna debut like a new name that wasn't the alpha?
No, not really. It was. I won't lie to you. Coming up with the Alpha was kind of. It was kind of hard actually because I didn't know what I was looking for.
Oh
I had
no,
no idea.
I trust me, brother. I feel that, dude. Like,
Right.
when I was like my my first wrestling name was actually the Razor Rage, which I stole that from like SmackDown versus Raw. But like to come up with
Mhm.
like my first, I guess, like main name, because I was only the Razor Rage for one show that we actually recorded. The other
Oh,
shows
sure.
weren't recorded. But like when I came up with like my first mainstay name, which was ALM, dude,
Mhm.
that shit took me a while because like I never really liked ALM. I never really wanted to be ALM, but like I couldn't
Mhm.
think of anything else, and it took
Sure.
like almost a year to figure out ALM. So brother, dude, I feel
Yeah.
that, dude.
Oh,
Changing a name
right.
is so hard.
It is. You can't just change a name and be the same character. You can't do that.
No, and like
It wouldn't make
your
sense.
name is such a big part. Like I was saying this on the episode with Sam Reeves. Like your name is such like a big part of who you are, because like
Mhm.
yeah, like your logos is like a really big part because like selling merchandise and like
Mhm.
but like
Yep.
most of the
Yep.
time people read your name like on like posts or like whatever, like so like if they
Mhm.
read some stupid name they're not gonna even go further into looking
Right.
into your merch, into like your character. So like names are
Right.
such a big part of your character.
Exactly. And it's kind of funny too because that you mentioned the logo thing because that's kind of like, and I got this while I was still CJ Jundt, but the neck tattoo
Oh
of
wow.
the wolf with the alpha and the stars. I got that while I was CJ, and it was a brand new logo that my wife actually helped me come up with. My wife Desi, she helped me come up with the logo. She actually is the one who helped me came up
Yeah,
with the name,
man,
the
dude,
Alpha.
this is so wild because like we have so much in common. Like the whole shit, we're like, you know, the whole like building up to the alpha, like in the early days of
Mhm.
FPW, and like that whole storyline where like you had everything, you got everything taken away. Dude, my wife, wrestler Ruby, she actually was the one who created the main Anthony Aries logo. She was the one who drew
Really,
it out. I digitalized it or whatever, but she's the one who like drew out the idea and like the template of like the main Anthony Aries
that's
logo.
cool.
That is
That's
so dope.
sick.
That is so
That's
dope.
crazy. What the
Yeah, I don't
hell?
know about
It's like
getting a Cody Rhodes neck tattoo of it, but
this was a tough decision to get. I won't lie to you because it was like because I have a bunch of tattoos, obviously, but I was like the one area I will absolutely never get a tattoo is on my face. I'll never do that.
uh-huh.
And the neck is like that gray area that's between your face and your body. And it's like, damn, do I want a neck tattoo? And I was never opposed to getting a neck tattoo. I didn't think I'd get one on the side here. I thought it would have been more on the back. But I kind of thought about it more, and yeah, it was. I won't lie. Cody Rhodes' nightmare tattoo on his neck kind of inspired me to like
Yeah.
maybe I should get mine on the side of my neck too, because I
How
don't know
bad
where
did it
else I
hurt?
would put
That's the
it.
real question. How bad did that shit hurt?
Honestly, it didn't hurt a bit. I mean, it's a little, it a little stingy from time to time, but it wasn't so bad. If anything, because I actually got this tattoo, and like I think a day or two after I initially got it the first time, I had a wrestling match like the next day, and I was like, oh shit. or like the next day or 2 days after I got it. I was like, well, that's gonna be fun. I wrestled, nothing happened, it was good. And then about a month or two later, I got it touched up again, just so it could, you know, stay well bright, so it doesn't fade enough and get the lines that were missed and whatnot. I got it touched up. The touching up part, that stung a little bit more, and I don't know why. It wasn't like it was tender. By this time, it's been healed for a month. It wasn't tender. I didn't know it. It stung a little bit more on the getting touched up part. And then, funny enough, after I got it touched up, I had another match like 3 days later, and that was fun. I tell you what, I got hit in the neck like multiple times. That was fun. It was so much fun. It hurt so much.
Man, that's like the one thing that like freaks me out about tattoos is like, is it gonna hurt? Because like fuck that, I'm not gonna sit my dumb ass in a fucking seat for goddamn hours getting some fucking wild shit. Like I don't care about anything that much, but like,
That's fair.
because like you hear like some people say it hurts, some people says it doesn't hurt. You don't really know until you get it. And I mean, shit,
Yep.
fuck that. Because like man, my dad, he started a tattoo and he never got it finished because like when they started it just fucking hurt so bad. I was like, fuck
Oh
that.
shit.
I'm not ruining my body getting a fucking half done tattoo because shit's wild. I mean,
That's fair.
like, I don't even know what the fuck I'd get tattooed on because, like,
That's fair.
I got to pick
I know
my.
some people get a lot of stupid shit, so you kind of. I
And the
mean,
thing is, like,
who's to say what it's supposed to mean? But at the same time, it's. I
no,
mean,
like, another thing, it's like,
if you think you don't want something dumb,
see,
don't
I'm
get
like,
nothing.
I got to pick something because, like, what if I don't get it finished? Like, I at least have to pick something that if it gets half done, it still can mean something. And, like, yeah, I
Right.
don't know.
Sure.
I don't know. But
Sure. That's
so
fair.
so before you were the alpha or whatever, you used your real name for backyard wrestling, and that's something a lot of people don't do. A lot of people don't want like you know
Yeah.
ties to their real life, and want to keep that private. What was the
Right.
decision into just using your real name for backyard wrestling?
Well, see, at that point, there wasn't so much of a thought process. It was so kind of again when we first started. I didn't know that the backyard wrestling community, the scene, was as big as it is still. I didn't think it was this big anymore. Yeah, I mean, you're the same way. We know that there was backyard wrestling scenes in the late '90s and the early 2000s that were on fire, and that's probably honestly peak backyard
Oh
wrestling
yeah,
in
no.
terms
I
of
honestly,
quality.
this is gonna get a lot of shit, and this is a hot take, especially for me as like the founder of like the BYWN and shit. I fully believe that backyard wrestling will never get hot like it was in the 90s ever again.
Right. I don't think so either, and I think that's just deal with um, I don't know if ignorance,
Generations, like,
ignorance maybe. I feel
well,
like
no, like
to a point.
I guess like just the times have changed. Like people
Yeah.
in general, like they're more sensitive, um,
Right.
and like a whole bunch. And I don't know, the people we got in today's generation,
Hmm.
I don't think we need to show some of that stuff mainstream. I'm not gonna lie, people are just kind of,
Right.
you
I
know,
agree. I agree. I think I kind of it's it's funny because you'd think in today's society people are more accepting as opposed back in the '90s and early 2000s with more closed-minded in certain terms. I should let me be
yeah.
clear in certain terms. And I feel like back then backyard wrestling was more frowned upon,
Well, I mean,
especially
back
to the
then
pro
also
wrestlers.
like wrestling, like pro wrestling was at like an all time mainstream.
Yeah, it was
And like,
fucking
back then, like back in those generations, like parents and like the overall thing was, oh, go outside and go rub some dirt on you. Just go get dirty,
right.
like do whatever the fuck. People didn't really give a
That's
fuck.
true.
Like
Yep.
shit, some of the
Yep.
wild shit that used to be on WWE TV that people like agreed and like supported. Like now people are way too sensitive.
Oh, you could do that.
Shit,
Oh
you
man,
know how
you
much
could do.
shit I get for backyard wrestling still? Bro, come on. Like my
Yeah,
manager thinks I'm some fucking weirdo and judged me hard when she found out that, I go fucking wrestle people in my backyard. Like on the
that's.
trampoline too.
See, I've gotten that too at a past job. Someone was like, "Oh, you're a." They found my channel and they're like, "Oh, you're a backyard wrestler." I was like, "Yeah, I do." And they're like, "So, where's your ring?" I said, "Yeah, I don't have one. We never got to that part." And they're like, "Oh, so what do you wrestle on?" And I'm like, "Well, we wrestle on a trampoline, wrestle on the ground, wrestle at playgrounds,
Yo,
wrestle in parking lots,
you
yeah,
can
anywhere you
attest
can
to
find
this,
one.
man. Wrestling on a trampoline is no fucking joke.
Dude, it takes a lot of energy. It really does.
Well, not only does it take the stamina, but like the risk of whiplash. Have you ever had whiplash?
Yes,
That
yes.
shit fucking debilitates you, dude. It sucks.
Yeah, it's
100%.
funny you bring it up because that match I had with Napalm at Resolutions,
Mm-hmm.
when he speared me from the top of the rocks onto the trampoline, I smacked my head so hard on the trampoline, and like my head was hurting all day, and I
Oh,
think I might have
dude.
caught a little bit of whiplash slash concussion. It's
Bro,
crazy.
shit, man. I think I've told this story on some podcast, or whether it was Sports Wire or Shooting with the Same. I'm pretty sure, but man, like, so when we first got the FBW trampoline, I set it up and I got everything, rigged up with Big B, the Wiffle board,
Oh
and
yeah.
he was my first training session on the trampoline. Cause like with SGW, I was only up there twice in 2023, so like I wasn't like I really had time to like get comfortable on a trampoline.
Right.
I mean, I think
Yep.
I did good on in SGW, but like with now having my own trampoline FBW, I was like, you
Mhm.
know what, we're gonna do some training sessions. I'm gonna get comfortable. B never really did. He never did backyard wrestling like this. So like, we were
Right.
practicing, and I can't remember because like my memory got foggy in that period. It was either
Mhm.
a German suplex or a choke slam, and I got whiplash completely, and it wasn't Big B's fault. It was my fault. Just I didn't protect
Mhm.
myself. You know, I was overly excited, and we were just going at it, and I just didn't protect myself properly, and I got whiplash, and man, was I fucking fucked
Mhm.
for,
Really?
dude, almost like 3 4 weeks, just like neck pain, headaches, dizziness, fucking I actually ended up going to my doctor, and I had to be put on fucking muscle relaxers for goddamn muscle spasms. Dude, it was fucking insane.
No shit.
Dude, yeah. Whiplash is no fucking joke. People like to shit on trampolines like, "Oh, it's trampoline wrestling. How can you get hurt on a trampoline?" Dude, you can get whiplash and concussed
Right.
and
Dude,
shit.
it's
And like over time your trampoline like loosens or like whatever, or like on a cold day it gets tight, and like there's no fucking give, and you're just hitting a hard fucking mat. You can
or
see
like.
like in some FBW matches, you can see like when I
Mhm.
wrestled Big B at Resurgence, I took a clothesline, I took a choke slam. There was no fucking bounce. I just ate that shit,
Yeah.
you know?
Or have you ever had the time where you get too much bounce and you smack the bottom of the ground, or you smack the ground, and it like you take it a choke slam, and you're like, all right, whatever. You're expecting it to be a little okay, it's gonna bounce, right? You
Hmm.
take the choke slam, ka-goonk, it's like, oh shit,
Especially if
and
you
you
have
just
weapons
fuck
under
you
the
back
ring.
up. It hurts.
Especially if you have weapons under the ring and you fucking clock.
Yes. Oh my god, dude, that's
It was one
that's
of the
so funny that you
tapings.
said that
It
too.
was one
It's
of the
crazy.
tapings. I think it was the first taping with the SGW guys.
Uh
Um, I think it was with Reeves. They did like a suplex spot. I don't remember who else was in that scenario besides just Reeves. And he fucking clipped the ladder that was underneath the trampoline.
huh. Oof. Uh-huh.
Especially if
Get
you're heavy set and like
yeah.
you really sink in. Yeah, like
Yep. Yep.
it's like where else do you keep the weapons,
It's
man?
crazy, dude. It's nuts. I seen, it's kind of funny. BYCW, they do trampoline wrestling, and underneath their wrestling, they put I think it's old mattresses,
Mm-hmm.
like two or
Oh
three of them
yeah,
underneath the trampoline,
I've seen
so it
that.
kind of reflects the bouncing a bit. Um, I wonder. I've never talked to Skull about it or nothing, but I wonder if they ever get fucked up on that because let's be honest, even how soft the mattress can be, sometimes you slam yourself on a mattress, I'm sure it's gonna not feel the
Well, I, I
best.
mean, I mean, regardless of that, like if you land on your neck weird, you're landing on
Yeah.
your neck weird. Like a power drive, like I've said this on
Yeah.
SportsWire when I was discussing the spot where at SGW Termination 2023, the last ever SGW show, me and
Hmm.
Reeves did a pile driver marathon spot where like he hit me with like 5 or 6 pile drivers in a row,
Oh wow.
taking a pile driver on a trampoline is still taking a pile driver. No matter where
Yeah.
you know, you're landing and you're compressing and
Yep.
you're just fucking your shit up.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it's scary too because there's bounce and you can still go underneath them as they bounce onto your head.
yeah, it's really risky. Like trampoline wrestling, like look, it's no comparison of like it being close to like a wrestling ring. You know,
Right.
obviously the health risks are more minimized or whatever, or more or less common, but
Sure.
like you can still get hurt and fucked up wrestling on a trampoline. And
Yep.
I will die
That's
on that
true.
hill. People got to respect the efforts. And I mean, obviously, like,
Mm.
dude, bouncing around takes more energy. So, like, yeah, like you really got to have
Yes.
some goddamn good endurance to do trampoline wrestling.
Yeah. It's fuck yeah. It is. It's a lot. And I know you guys get it a lot hotter down there than you do up here, but man, up here when it's middle of July or middle of August, and we're talking like anywhere from 80 to damn near 100-degree weather. And we're right by the second largest river chain in the country with the Missouri River. And so it gets
That
fairly
humidity,
humid
yeah,
up
that
here as
humidity is
well.
fucking killer, dude.
It does.
Killer.
Like the heat sucks. It does, but it's bearable. It's the humidity that kicks your ass. And so when you're and you know, I mean you're in Florida.
I mean,
You know, when it gets hot and humid and
oh,
you're fucking trying to do a even a 15-20 minute match on a trampoline,
oh,
man, you're
dude,
like you're dying
I've
like
done
5 minutes
30-minute
in.
Iron Man matches. I did the 1 hour Iron Man match where
Yep,
like it
yep,
sucks. But like, and
yep.
then on the flip side, it's like, oh well, if it's cold, that'll be better. No, it's not because, dude,
Yeah, fuck
when
it,
it's
dude.
cold and the air is dry, dude,
Yes,
it's you can't catch your breath because then like you've probably experienced this. I mean, I used to because
yes,
I used to live in New York. When you try doing exercise in cold weather and like it's like the air is so dry, dude, it burns your throat and it's miserable. It's
yes.
miserable.
Especially when the wind chill makes it even colder.
Oh,
Like
dude.
it's like if it's cold, like here's the thing too, and this is very big in the Midwest because we don't have a lot of trees, we don't have a lot of hills or mountains or tall buildings to block our shit. When it gets cold, it's cold and it sometimes sucks, but it's bearable to a point. But then you get the wind chill and it's windy and that wind is just breezing. Oh my God, does it
It's
suck?
dude.
And we've had our fair share of matches in negative degree weather. As a matter of fact, um, New Year's Revolution for
Okay.
in 2022, me versus Nate Dogg. I think the match was only 10 minutes, maybe like 11, like 9, 10, 11 minutes, something like that. Oh my God, dude! It was like negative. I think with the wind chill, we're talking about like negative 15 out.
Yo,
It
and
was cold.
that's the
And we went on the trampoline and it was full of snow, dude. So the snow on top of being cold and it's freezing out, dude. It was the worst. And we filmed out there a whole bunch of content for like 3 hours, and it
dude.
was shitty. It was so bad, dude. It
Like,
was
I mean,
horrible.
obviously Florida doesn't get that cold. But shit, like recently, like it's been getting down into the 30s. Like we saw shit.
Mhm.
Some parts of Florida was in the 20s. I mean, that's no like close to like the negatives. But like,
Sure.
so Sam, okay, breaking the fourth wall. It is what it is. People already know and expect. But like, Sam Reeves just came down for another film day for FBW, and
Mhm.
that morning it was fucking barely breaking 39 degrees.
Wow.
And like obviously like when you deal with travelers and like people who can't be around as much, you gotta start early, you gotta end late, and you gotta film a lot. And man,
Yep.
dude, I woke up around 7:30. No, I woke up around 7 and I had to set up the arena because I was like, you know what, we're not wasting no time. I'm gonna get out there, I'm gonna set everything up. We're gonna start as dude. It was so fucking cold.
Yep.
Goddamn 40 degrees. The coldest we've ever wrestled in, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, it was that
That's
day
great.
for the first couple hours cuz like I mean, we bullshitted and did some promos for a bit until it got warmer, but like The last time I
Mm.
wrestled in any cold weather like that was 2016. It was FBW
Wow.
Arrival. It was 43 degrees.
Jeez,
And
that's
like you
crazy.
know, it sucks wrestling when it's
Yeah.
cold cuz like when it's cold, like you're all tight, you're all tense, like
Yeah.
fucking weapons hurt worse, shit
Oh
hurts
my
worse.
God, dude. I've gotten hit with the fucking shovel in the middle of the winter. Oh my God, I just want to die. Just
You
kill me.
guys wrestled in snow, and that's dedication and respect to you because like
It's
most
it's
people like when it's like the winter months, it's snowing and like all that bullshit, like they either stop or they do some other like because I know like YBW when it snows up there, like they did like a whole run where they were wrestling inside on mats. Like you guys
yeah,
wrestle through the
yep.
snow. How is that?
It's it can be fun, really. It's again, it just kind of depends on the wind. That's such a north or I'm sorry, it's such a midwestern thing to say because that's true. Like that's how we all here are, especially in North Dakota. It's like if there's a saying, it's like if it wasn't so windy, it wouldn't be so cold. And it's like
No, because like the
it's really a
reality
true
is like
thing.
the wind makes it feel like 20 times
Yes.
colder. Like if it was
Oh,
just 40
so much.
degrees, just 40 degrees, like
Right.
I can
Like
deal with
that's
that.
oh man.
But then the wind comes in. Now it feels like it's like 20 degrees and like
Right.
it just
And
sucks.
like if it was just the temperature it was like yeah it'd be a piece of cake, but you never get that up here. It's I mean it's a rarity, it really is.
Yeah.
But when it's not unbearable, wrestling in the snow can be very fun. Yeah, it's gonna get cold, and yeah, your fingers and your toes are gonna be like literally freezing, but you just kind of bear through it. You have fun. Like I said, we've done buried alive matches, we've thrown people off of high stuff before into the snow, into piles of snow. It was really cool. As a matter of fact, there was one time we were doing a 24/7 skit, and we did it at a skate park in the middle of January or the beginning of January, and there was about I think it was about 2 feet of snow on the ground, and then we went on the skate park, and you go down into the actual skating area. You go down one of the ramps, and there's a snowdrift, about 4 or 5 feet of snow, just buried because it's in a divot. And so we're standing on top, like, oh, dude, we gotta throw someone off here, and we gotta do an elbow drop off the top, and we did just that, and it was really cool. And I mean, the guy's buried in snow, breathing in snow, while the guy's sitting there pinning him, and the ref's just down with his sleeves covered like this. One, two, it's it's the best. It's great. It's funny, and it's a rough time in the moment, and you go back and
Oh,
you
it's worth
watch it
it.
and you're laughing and you're like it's a great time. It
Yeah,
can be
no, man.
fun.
I remember when we were filming the other day when it was that cold. Like, man, the trampoline was stiff. Man,
Mm,
like it just
yeah,
sucks. But hey, we pulled through it. You know,
right.
with what we've said about trampoline, wrestling and stuff. What do you think is the worst spot that you've ever like? Whether it was a move, a sequence, or whatever. What's the worst spot that you have taken in your LBYW career?
Okay. I got two of them kind of so okay. One of them's kind of a training sesh and the other one's during an actual match. So the training session one. What had happened is me and Aruda, gosh, it wasn't me Aruda, I think it was Pinball Aiden. I want to say Ragnarok and Gyro. I want to say it was the five of us. Were in a training session one day. We were just bullshitting around. We had already filmed what we needed to film that day, and we finished that fairly quick, which isn't something that happens a lot because usually we're late filming stuff. But we finished what we needed to film that day early, and it was like the end of August, beginning of September ish. This was back in 22, and we let's see here. We were yeah. It was plenty of daytime. It was fun. We had nowhere to go, nothing to do, so we were training. And me and Aruda were doing the spot where me and Aruda were going back to back, giving each other angle slams. I can't remember if I was the one giving it to Aruda or if Ruda was the one performing the angle slam to me. But after like the fifth or sixth time that we were trying it, one of us, whichever way it was, we did it. And when I landed, and again, I don't remember if I was getting the move done to me or if I was doing the move. When I landed, like I had mentioned earlier, my back smacked the ground so hard. It was my lower back, like just right
Wow.
above my ass. It it hurt so much. Like I felt like I popped something. I didn't. I was fine. It was dude. It was the worst pain because like I don't even know how to explain it. I hit landed so hard on the ground. It was oh my god. It was man. That was rough. I stopped practicing for about maybe 10 minutes after that. I was like, I gotta take a break. And the other guys they kind of continued. And Aruda was hurting too. It was that was a fucking tough spot. That was rough. So that hurt. And then during a match, it was me versus Gyro versus Nate Dogg. And
From what show?
oh gosh, I think this was a special. It was just a single upload. This was in the beginning of 22.
In case people want to see you, get her for real and enjoy your suffering.
It was it was a triple threat match for the second place championship, and it was at the very beginning of season 3 in 2022. So it's on that playlist if you ever want to go to it. But
Damn,
what
2022
happens?
just not treating you well.
Huh?
2022 is just not treating you well.
No, it's not. 2022 gave me a lot of hell. It did. But yeah, I hit Gyro with a kick, which took him down, and then Nate got up. Nate grabbed me and threw me off the trampoline into the garage, into the outside of the garage, and I smacked the wall so hard you can hear it. Oh man, if you listen to that, dude, it's crystal clear. You just hear a boom, boom. Like my face hit my face, not my head, not my neck, my
Yeah.
face smacked the side, and then my body smacked the side, and then I landed on the ground.
You just said count me out
And
already.
when I tell you my ear was ringing, I literally mean my ear was ringing. My head, I think, I'm no doctor. I never got checked out, never nothing. I'm pretty positive I got a concussion that day because when I hit, all I heard was ringing. I saw white for like a split second. It was just pure. It was like a white screen, and my head was throbbing, and it was the most intense pain I've had. Definitely, at least up to this moment, knock on wood, the worst wrestling incident I've
You know,
had thus far,
I'm starting to
and
think
it
I kind of
sucks.
got
Like the rest of the day, I was a vegetable the rest of the day.
I think I got concussed when I got whiplash that one time with B, and then I think I got
Yeah.
concussed before because I took a DDT on a ladder. This was like early
Oh,
PW. This was 2015. It was Independence 2015. It was me versus Eric Danger in a ladder match, and I took a
god damn.
DDT in that match, and my head just spiked the ladder. And I think I
Yep.
got concussed
Oh,
there, but like I never like I never go to the doctor. I'm not gonna lie, but one
right, right.
spot, as we're talking about, spots and stuff. One spot that looked horrible that really didn't wasn't too bad was it was Heart of
Mhm,
Glory. It was me versus Reeves in the bull rope. Towards the end, he gives me a choke
mhm,
slam, and I just fucking folded. I folded right on my neck, and that shit
yeah,
was brutal. Like Reeves froze. Ryan Blade is the ref. He was like, "Yo, what the fuck?" Dudes thought I was dead. And no,
yeah,
like literally, I finished the match, and after the match, I was walking fine.
yep.
Like,
That's so funny.
and then in a match that is going to air soon, not to spoil
Ooh,
anything, not gonna say who, what type of match it was, but yeah, I got
sure.
dropped on my fucking head again. I fucking like I went to go do a suplex, but like not to spoil anything, but the person who went to suplex me, I guess like didn't really give me time to like adjust and kind of like set myself
Mhm,
up to do the jump, cuz like
yeah.
and yeah, nope, I just fucking yank brain buster. He tried
Damn, that's
the person
crazy.
tried to like I get like the person like he felt me going in the wrong direction, so he tried to like turn me as much as he could. But yeah, I got fucking brain bustered just straight.
Was this Draven?
No, it wasn't. You know what?
Draven.
It wasn't Draven. It was. You know what? I'm not gonna spoil who,
That's
whatever, what type of match, but it was Chris. It was Chris. I was with Chris.
no shit.
I was with Chris. He just like not to spoil what the match was or whatever, but like we did a spot where like so I suplexed him. I did like a snap suplex. It was quick, but like I gave him time to like prepare for the jump or whatever.
Sure.
Um and then he responded by giving me a suplex and just I'm old.
Mhm.
I'm old. I'm hurt. I work with fucking children. No, I'm just kidding. But
Yep.
no, just
Yep.
he didn't give me time to like set
Where's your
myself up
muffins?
properly.
You need your muffins.
Yay, dude, and like
No, okay, so I got a question for you, real
dude,
quick. So, based off of what you were just telling me, and your the last photo that you post on Facebook of you and the FPW clan, I noticed that the Wolf of War wasn't there. Is he available this time or no?
no, so I mean I haven't really like discussed this like fully, but you know, this is SmackYard. It is backyard wrestling. Kayfabe doesn't exist. No, so Big B, he's in the Navy.
Okay, right.
So we filmed some dates or whatever, and we got stuff filmed
Mhm.
last year, and then he left last spring. He came down for like the holiday season for like a couple of days,
Mhm.
but like we tried to meet up and get some stuff filmed, but like he was gonna be gone before Reeves and them comes back and just the
Yep.
holidays work. Just we couldn't make out a date, but he's coming back this year,
Mhm.
this spring, and we're gonna try to get him on, and where he's going to be like stationed should allow him
Mhm.
to come down regularly.
Oh, nice. So he's going to be in state.
No, he's gonna be in Lower Georgia, kind of near where
Oh,
like the SGW guys were. Supposedly, that's
sure.
what he's told me. I don't know if shit's gonna change or you know,
Right.
I only
Very well
talk to him
coached.
so very often because I mean,
Right.
Napalm was in the army or whatever branch. So like, unless that's just a
Yep.
gimmick and he's just a fake ass John Cena. So like you should know, like it's so like sparse of like when you contact these people.
Hmm.
You know what? We
Yep.
got to book it. Come down, Napalm versus Big B, the battle of the army men.
Mhm. There we go. See, okay, so I will kind of I don't know if it's because we don't know if it's gonna happen or nothing yet, but so I've kind of talked with some of my guys as well about the possibility of something maybe working out sometime this summer if it were to, and Napalm's down.
Dude,
We just got to make it work with
Big B
all of us.
versus Big B versus Napalm, the battle of the army men. Who can out
And
army the other?
we could do some which is a very real thing too. We could do a little bit of who knows. We could do a branch versus branch war.
Man, it's so wild. Like, and I think you've experienced this. Like, nobody just wants to travel to like where we're at. Like, nobody wants to travel to Florida like ever.
Oh God, tell me about it. Who wants to come up to North
I mean, you
Dakota?
you did. Let's actually talk about this. You did have a collab recently with Kurt
Sure,
Adams. So how did
sure.
how did that whole because like on I mean I don't know too many people. I mean, obviously, like I stick to the Nexus, but like to
Yep.
me, I don't know how that worked out, but like that came out of nowhere. So like, how did the whole Kurt Adams and LBYW partnership or whatever run come to be?
Well, it's kind of funny because I didn't think it was ever gonna. I didn't like it. It was so okay. So we'll kind of keep this. I won't go into exquisite detail, but so you remember back in 22 when everybody and their mother was doing all the Instagram lives, and everybody would join in on everyone's session, and everyone was talking with everybody. Not once did I ever hear or mention anything about Kurt Adams or any of his stuff. As a matter of fact, and I won't even lie to you, because at that point, that's when I was really starting to become more familiar with everybody else. Uh, you know, in the scene in the community. I didn't know who Kurt Adams
Dude,
was,
Kurt
or at least I
Adams
don't
is
remember too much
actually
from him.
Kurt Adams is actually involved in the first ever Backyard Wrestling Nexus like video posted. The
Is
first
he?
match, the first match on the Nexus page is Gunshot versus Kurt
Oh,
Adams.
you know what? I have seen that. I mean, not like beforehand, but after I did some swimming and I found it. I did find that. You're right. Yes, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's crazy too. That's kind of
I mean,
unique.
he's
It's
not
kind
a
of cool.
Nexus member. It was really just mostly like through Gunshot. But like,
Right. Sure.
so so when did the talks of Kurt Adams coming to LBYW start?
Right. Yeah. I was. My bad. I kind of got a little off topic there again. I tend to do that. That's on me. So when we were doing this Instagram stuff, there was this one live stream that I had. I didn't join on, but I was just watching just because, and I don't know why. I don't think anything else was going on. And it was Riley Bates and Captain Law. I had no idea who Riley Bates was, and I knew Captain Law. And they were talking because I guess they worked tons of times
Mm-hmm.
together back in the day. Um, and Riley Bates was saying that he's from South Dakota. And while I'm a North Dakota guy, I'm all North Dakota, everything over South Dakota. I grew up in South Dakota as well. I've had family who live in South Dakota. Um, I mean, geez, I went to a couple years of grade school and my last 2 years of middle school and half of my freshman year of high school in South Dakota. I have friends who live in South Dakota. I go to South Dakota regularly. Well, not so much these days, but back in the day, regularly to see them and hang out with them all. I have history in South Dakota. I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, where are you from? And they said that they're from Pierre, South Dakota, which is the state capital. That's what 4 hours away at most from Bismarck.
God damn!
Um,
Like, look at this. Like, you had people traveling from 4 hours away. I traveled four
right.
hours to Georgia. That's wild.
It's like two chapters parallel to each other.
Yo, in many
It's
ways.
meant. It's just we're meant to have this interview. That's what we're meant to do.
Just 3 years after the
But
first one.
oh, right, yeah.
All right,
But
real
then
quick.
that was
The
that.
day will
Like
rejoice when CJ Jundt and Anthony Aries face off in the backyard.
someday, hopefully soon, but someday, who knows? Fingers crossed. But yeah, so then for that, I found out they were from Pierre, and we just talked a little bit on the Insta live, and then that was it. Nothing. I mean, that was in 22, so nothing was ever heard. I never tried to connect, as far as I'm aware, and neither did they for the longest time. And then last summer, no, I'm sorry. Or yeah, it is. I'm sorry, it's 2025. I keep forgetting. Last summer, about like May, I want to say of 2024, I'm working, and this is when I was working at the. I don't currently work anymore, but this is when I was working at the state penitentiary. I got off shift. No, I went on break, and I went to my car. I was on my phone, and I see that I got a message on Instagram from Kurt Adams. And I was very unfamiliar, like I said, up to that point with his work. And I've seen him a couple times, but I wasn't familiar exactly with what he was at that time. And so he sent me a voice message, and it was like, oh, essentially the point was, hey, we didn't know that there's another Dakota wrestling promotion, and we were just wondering if you were interested in the possibility of collabing at some point, sometime, whenever. And if you're interested, just get a hold of us, and if not, no harm feelings. So I thought about it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I didn't say nothing. I went back to work, and I finished my shift. And then I think that was my last shift before my weekend break at that time. So I went, and on my weekend break, I actually went through, and I went through SBW, and I went through some old. That's when I found the gunshot match on the Nexus channel. I found some of the other stuff. I think he's been to Tennessee, uh, pre Predator days, or at least
The
oh,
fact that we have to bring up pre-Predator days. Well, I mean, they
yeah,
were always predators, but
right,
predators before the beef.
Predator aware days, before we ever knew, before we knew. Um, and and so I was like, oh, this guy, he's a good worker, and I've seen a lot of his stuff. So I messaged him back, and we talked a little bit, and we chatted, and we discussed dates, and we discussed like small plans, my thoughts, his thoughts, this and that, and we talked it over, and we did our thing, and it was really cool. It was a cool experience.
Well,
Um,
I remember seeing, because we're friends on Facebook, like on our personal accounts. I remember seeing like
mhm.
because you posted like photos of the trip or whatever early, I believe.
Yeah,
So I was
I
like,
shouldn't have, but I did.
yeah.
I
So
shouldn't.
because like I mean that was like I remember like I immediately texted you. I was like, what's going on over here, buddy?
Right, right. Like it's
So has everything aired from that collab?
new. Well,
Because I want to be
yes.
careful where I tread with my next question.
I think I know where you might be going. Let me say this. Everything. Oh man, I don't know how. Okay, all right. I'm gonna be careful with my
Maybe
words here. All
let
right,
me ask
so
hypothetically: have you traveled to SBW, or has they've only come to you guys?
yes is my answer.
So you've actually traveled to SBW. How was that?
It was cool. It was cool. It was really cool. It was different. It was okay. All right. Cat's out of the bag. So yes, first thing we discussed actually was us going down there. So I brought some. I won't mention who. I won't mention that. But
So
me
none
and
of so you guys at SBW hasn't aired yet, is what I'm getting.
no,
Really?
me and X amount of people who came from North Dakota down to South Dakota. Nothing has come out. Nothing has aired. It should be airing very soon. I mean, very soon. I believe it's actually, as a matter of fact, during our podcast right now, this session, I think they just dropped another episode. I don't know if that's the beginning or not of us. I don't know. I know Gunshots actually had his stuff
Yeah, I
started to
mean,
come
shit.
out.
That caught me off guard. Much love to Gunshot, but I was like, "Fuck, this dude's still doing stuff." I
You
mean,
know, I
I'm
will say
glad
this.
I'm glad he's doing something on a platform like that, like with an actual
Right,
group, with an actual
right,
platform. Because HFW, all due
yeah,
respect, it's not really a thing no more.
no, and don't get me wrong. I look. I personally, I mean, absolutely no disrespect when I say this, but the I have certain feelings with Gunshot. We've tried. We've talked with him to get him to come down, and there
Yeah,
was two times where we tried to get things to work and coordinate and just. And I think the same thing was with you as well, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
Things just didn't
So
work out.
here's what happened with Gunshot. He was supposed to come down in 2021, when we
Yep.
started that whole feud and all that bullshit. And he stood
Yep.
me up. He canceled last minute the first time. We tried replanning, and
Mm-hmm.
when we tried replanning, he just completely stood me up.
Yep.
He was texting me all day saying that he was on the bus, that he was, here, and then he was
Oh,
there. And then
no shit.
I was about to leave to go to the bus stop because like his arrival time was coming up, and that's when he
Yep.
was like, "Okay, man, I got to be completely honest with you. I'm not on the bus. I'm not in Florida." And yeah.
Wow, no
And
shit.
then ever since then we never replanned, we never rethought. And
Mm-hmm.
then just I mean, now Gunshot's going through his crisis or whatever, but
Yep, exactly.
I mean,
And see, that's
I'm glad he did something with a platform that
right.
I mean, I'm not too much of a viewer of SBW, but I see that they got an arena down, they got a channel, you know.
See, again, before any of this collaboration, neither was I, and that's just because I didn't really know about it. It wasn't until we communicated that that's when I started, to really
Did
learn
you
more of
grow
their
up on
their
backyard wrestling?
content.
Like, was there before you started backyard wrestling? Was there like a federation? Because like you hear it so many times. Like, it's either
Mhm.
KBW, ESW, CHW. Was any of that in your
Uh,
life before backyard wrestling?
GTS, of course. GTS is a no brainer. That was kind of like as professional as backyard wrestling could get. So it is a backyard wrestling fed, with Grim and Do Hop and all of them. It is a backyard wrestling fed, and it's crazy because actually, Devin Adams, BYWN original, was on GTS before. I seen him on a couple
Yes.
of different episodes. He was on there,
I
not
remember
as
that.
Devin Adams, the character. They gave him a different name,
Yeah.
but he was on that show. He wrestled a time or two, and I don't think JJ Stevens was, but I know they got Devin Adams for sure, and that was cool.
That's really interesting.
Um,
Most of the time, like I said, it's either ESW, KBW, or CHW. But because like GTS is like more like it's a newer type thing.
right.
Wasn't like an
Yes.
OG, but
Like an OJ thing. I don't even. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even know the company's name. But when I was a kid, actually, okay, no. Sorry. When I was a young guy, like we're talking like 10, 11, there was this YouTube channel called WCWE. I don't remember what it stood for. I think it was World Championship. Gosh, no, it was WTWE, World Trampoline Wrestling Entertainment. I think that's what it was called.
interesting.
WTWE. And they put out stuff all the time. And I mean, it was nothing special, but it was like, dude, this is cool. Like 10-year old, it was like 9, 10 years old me was like, dude, this is awesome. And I have the friends for it. This was back when I was actually living in South Dakota. I have the friends for it. This is something that I want to do. And so my buddy at the time down in South Dakota, his name's Kathan. Love you, man. He is. That's not, by the way. It's not like he died. I was just saying. If he's ever watching this, love you, bro. But he's very much well alive. He's living in the Black Hills. He's doing great for himself. He's doing good. Um, he actually just got a trampoline at the time, and so um, we were like, dude, we gotta wrestle. And that was the first thing we did, and we did wrestle a little bit. It was nothing. We didn't go too far with it because not everybody that we hung out with wanted to do it or understood it. But we film or well, we wrestled a little bit, but we couldn't film anything because we didn't have smartphones at the time. We didn't have camcorders. We didn't have nothing like that to film
Oh
anything.
no, I feel that.
And so that would have been cool to film. I wish, God, I wish
Oh
there's
no, I feel
something.
that, man. I wish I had
Right.
ways to record like the early days of FBW. Like I
Yup.
remember the first FBW match I did with Chris in like 2020 or 2020. Goddamn, 2012. That shit was certified banger. Maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe that shit was like the drizzling shit. And if I, but like shit, like I remember like starting
Yep.
FBW when we first was able to record. Like, man, dude, I had to scratch and claw to record FBW when we like could. Like I remember at one
Yep.
point we were recording on a fucking like some cheap weird fucking Chinese 720p camera. At one
Yep.
point we were wrestling on a goddamn 2DS, and that 2DS
Oh
gave
my
us,
gosh.
dude,
No
that
way.
2DS gave us a crisp 360p, barely.
Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness.
And some of those
That's
matches
wild.
are on YouTube. Like if you go to No Love 2015, Holiday
Hmm.
Havoc 2014, Revenge 2015, all the matches were 2DS recorded matches.
Jeez. How'd you get them off of the DS?
So the 2DS, how like since it had a camera or whatever, you
Hmm.
can insert a camera SD card
Oh,
in
sure.
the 2D. Maybe it wasn't a. That's how at least I remember. It was an SD card of some sorts. I'm pretty sure it was like the same SD card you'd put into like some of those older cameras.
Camcorders?
Yeah.
Sure.
And then I would just plug that shit into my computer, and
Yep.
that's how we dragged them off, and it gave us a crisp 360p quality.
That's crazy, dude. Wow. That's
And then
nuts.
before after that, I started getting decent like actual, you know, actual
Right.
cameras, you know.
Right.
But
Yep.
yeah, dude, a 2DS, that's the wildest shit I've ever recorded on. A
So
2DS.
so how you film now? Is it with a camera or with a phone?
So, got everything in my little office area in the living room. So,
Here you go.
So I got this bad boy. This is just a spare phone. I have accumulated like spare phones. This is like a
Sure,
Galaxy A11. It does
sure.
10. It does 1080. If you're doing 1080, that's fine. So this is
Yep.
like my recording phone, and then I got this
Nice.
bad boy. Uh, yeah. I
Oh
mean,
yes. Damn. Nice.
the angle it shoots in a very like close up angle, which is like the only thing I don't like. But
Mm-hmm.
supposedly it can go up to 2.7K, and then I got the microphone, the light.
Wow.
So I got this camera or whatever.
Yep.
But that's the mains and then obviously I have the GoPro that I'm using as a webcam right now, and then I have that, which that can also do supposedly 4K.
Wow. Oh shit. That's cool.
But the GoPro is not really something I would record with like for like the main
Hmm.
angle. Just the microphone isn't that strong on the GoPro, but yeah,
See, we
that's
had
what I
a
record
GoPro
with.
once. We had a GoPro once too that we recorded with, but it was bad. It was
See,
bad quality.
the GoPro is good for like a hard cam angle, kind of just like an
Yeah.
overview.
Yep.
But
See, it's funny because all right, I gotta grab that. So my wife just recently got one of these, right? And this is like a nice vintage one that we got.
oh shit,
DVC HD. We're talking like this is like good quality
yo,
back in
that's
like
almost the same.
2010.
That's almost the
And
same.
this is
That's almost the same
yeah.
camera I got.
Oh yeah, there you go. See how. And so like this is something that I just thought about, right? So I was thinking because I wanted to do this last year for Haunted Hellfest 4, but we didn't have we have another camera, but the and it's a better quality camera, but the memory is really low on it for some reason.
Uh
Like
huh.
it can only record up to maybe it's not the memory. It's on the settings, and I've tried so much to adjust it, and I couldn't get it to work. But it only records up to about 15-minute increments. So then you got to record it again after it's done, and
Yeah.
that's while you could have somebody standing there the whole time watching and then pressing it after it's done. It's a hassle, and so it didn't get to work at the time. But with this, what I kind of thought about is like having that hard camera, and then still having the guy with the phone circling around wherever you're doing your things, cool, doing whatever. But then maybe occasionally, and I don't exactly have the most uh, advanced editing software. I have a laptop that's ancient. I'm trying to get a new updated PC, but
I use OpenShot. That's what I
so
use. OpenShot. It's free. Before that,
OpenShot.
OpenShot. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
solid program. It's free, no watermarks or anything, and it can get some pretty solid.
Okay.
That's what I use for FBW. I used to use Power Director,
Uh
but
huh.
you got to pay for that shit. And
Dang, that's crazy. Yeah, I can't see like that's the thing. Like I could, it would be nice to get some of those really high top of the market, but like I can't afford that.
yeah,
You know,
it's all about
I have
budget.
more
Like
important things I need to get
yeah, no,
for
and it's work for the
kids and
guy.
wife and
Oh no, I feel that. That's
bills.
why I'm stuck here in backyard wrestling. I don't got the time,
Right.
the money, whatever. But
Right.
let's talk about that. We talk about responsibilities and stuff. So obviously this question always got to get asked, in the backyard wrestling, scene or whatever. So
Mhm.
what's up with you and going pro?
It's something that I did try for, and I trained for it once, literally like one session, because what had happened was so prior to any backyard wrestling, when when I just turned 18 years old, in high school we were doing we had PE class, and we were doing a game of mat ball, which, if for those who may not be familiar, mat ball is essentially like kickball, but the rules are you kick the ball and you got to go on the mats, which are the bases. You have to go on the mats, and this was like January, so we were playing inside the gym, not outside, because it was like 3 feet of snow. But so you have to go around 3 times before you can score.
Mm-hmm.
So you kick the ball, you go around the hole, you get to home base. That's one. You got to go back, and that's two. And then by the time you get to the base the third time, then you've scored. And it's really cool. It's something I haven't done before. uh, any other schools that I went to prior to that. Um, we were playing that, and then in the middle, there's 3 or 4 people that have balls, and when you're running, so you have those 3 people that can't move,
Mm-hmm.
and they're throwing the balls at you, and you got to duck them, while the other guy who was pitching is able to move around freely and still tag you. So it's really cool. It's really, um, you know, edge of the seat kind of stuff. It's really fun, and if you're a competitive guy, it's one of the best things you can play. And I was a very competitive guy. And so when we were doing it, I kicked the ball and I was running and I got to first base. And I said, "Oh, you know what? I can steal and go to second." And that's what I did. So I started hauling ass. And so I ran and I jumped. And I jumped for second base. I did. And as I jumped, all 3 of those guys in the middle, they had a ball and they fucking threw those.
Damn, tried murking you.
And when I landed, so my left arm went up and I landed and it snapped back. And I ended up only dislocating my shoulder, which was crazy because it should have broke. But that was like the worst thing. By the way, I made it to the base safe. Just saying.
He said, I have to clarify that. That still
Yes,
holds a spot in my heart.
but that shit sucked. I had to go to the hospital, and when I did, they did their thing and they popped it back in. But they told me that the way, because I had just turned 18, my body was obviously still growing, and they said that the transitioning that my body was in at that time was in between the youth and the adult stage. So when I popped my shoulder out and I dislocated it, it tore the ligaments, and the ligaments will never ever be as 100% as they ever were before, because and it's even worse because at that age my body was in between stages,
Mm-hmm.
so it sucked. It was like transitioning. Then I popped it out and it never healed completely. So they told me that my odds are for dislocating the shoulder went up 50%, and that's what happened when I in June or July 2022. I tried out for a local professional wrestling company,
Mm-hmm.
um, EWI, Elite Wrestling Initiative. I tried out for them, and I went to their first taping, and we discussed payments and such, and the payments were definitely something I couldn't exactly afford at the time.
Yeah.
But the guy was like, you know what? He needs people,
Mm-hmm.
and he was going to take me in for the time being, free of charge, and then we'll work everything out later on in the future. And I said, dude, that's really cool, and I appreciate that. I went to his first taping, and we were all doing. As soon as everybody arrived there, there was about, I want to say, 5 or 6 of us there training at the time, not including the main guy. We were all taking turns doing different like splashes and dives on the mats just to kind of get that beginning training in. And we had to do basically we were doing a Superman land. Your hands up, land on the mat like a frog splash. When I did that, and it's not that I landed wrong, but the mats, when you do it, because you weight cave in like this.
Yeah.
And when I did that, my shoulder popped out, and I felt the pain instantly. I knew what it was. I was like, "Oh shit! Yep, I felt this before." And I fucking I stood up and I was holding my arm, and I was like, "Dude, I can't do anything anymore." And I was stuck like this. I was like, "I can't move," and I was in pain. It was I was wincing. It hurt. I was like, "Fuck! I can't do anything." And like, "Well, what'd you do?" And I said, "I'm pretty sure I popped my shoulder out." And they were trying to pop it back in. I was like, "No, no, 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 no. I'm good. Don't touch me. I'm all right." And where I was at the time, from Bismarck, where I lived, it was about, because it was just outside of town, maybe 45 minutes out of town where I drove.
Jesus.
So I was stuck out there. Didn't even get a chance to step in the ring, by the way. That's what pisses me off. Never got to step into the actual real ring. Didn't even get to touch the ropes.
Wait, so
Nothing.
where were you practicing bumps then? Just on like a mat?
Yeah, we were outside of the ring on the mats out there,
Jesus
and then we were supposed to transition into the ring after that.
So like you just kind of knew that pro is not for you with your shoulder
Right,
bruising.
right. After that, I went back to town, got checked out, got it fixed. You know, they popped it back in and whatnot. And then I actually had appointments scheduled to get surgery on my
Oh
shoulder
shit.
because I was serious. I was trying to go pro, and I was because I have the mindset for it.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, my body doesn't agree, but I have the mindset for it, and I was dead set on it. I had my two oldest kids at the time, and me and my wife had because and obviously it would be nothing drastic at this stage in my life, but we were both aware that all right, well, I'll be traveling a lot, and it's gonna suck being away from the family. Or if they have to come with, it would suck having to go through all that
Yeah.
process. But we were set on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in talks. I was serious. I had appointments set up, and I was going to get surgery. And the more I talked with one of the surgeons, and he was telling me that surgery, because I was telling him what I was trying to do. I told him what I was practicing for and training for, and what I was trying to do, which was to become a professional wrestler. And he said that surgery is the best way to go because they'll repair the tendons and it'll basically kind of put it back in its spot. But I will still have just as much of a chance without surgery of popping my shoulder out.
Oh yeah. Then at
And
that
I
point,
told him, I said, yeah, I said, what's the point of getting
yeah, because
surgery
then
then?
you're going into medical debt if you don't got insurance or good insurance, and then you're going into debt
Exactly.
with the wrestling school, paying for wrestling school, medical debt, all that shit.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
so there's not a
And
chance you'll ever make it, bro.
no, it's as a wrestler, no. And I mean, who knows what the future's like? Obviously, not to get cliche, never say never, but who knows? It's something I would still like to do, but I don't know if it's ever anything in my future. I'm not training for anything. I've got the backyard thing going on for me right
So
now.
you've just come to terms with your refuge in backyard wrestling.
Right, and plus, with the kids and such, I'm kind of more. Yes, it would be awesome to be a professional wrestler, but again, with my odds, who knows how likely those are?
No, no,
Maybe as a ref, that'd be cool. I'd totally be a referee
no. I feel that.
or someone to do with the behind the scenes or something. I would love to do that,
I know, and
but who knows?
as a fellow father, no, I completely feel you on like the family side. Like
Right? Yeah.
there's nothing more valuable in life than seeing and spending time with your kids and like experiencing them
Exactly.
grow up. Every new
Yep.
memory, every new, opportunity to do something with them, that
Yes.
everything else is worthless compared to like, that.
Yes.
And, you
Yep.
know,
I agree.
in my case, like my plan was to go to school for wrestling right after high school, but then like
Hmm.
I had my first kid, you
Yep.
know. So then it became okay,
Yep.
well, I got to get this job, but I got to save up for a house or like an apartment, and then I got to save up for all this
Mhm.
baby shit. And I got to set that foundation.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
now it's 2021 going into 2022 or whatever. I'm like, okay, I got a foundation set. Now let me go try to save up to go to wrestling school again. Then
Mhm.
I had my son. And like
Yep.
after I had my son, that kind of put the stamp because like shit, I'm no fucking millionaire. This economy
Mhm.
sucks. Like,
Oh God, tell
like
me about it.
they say if you really want it bad, you can always find a way. But some shit just sometimes
Yep.
shit don't fall in your favor, and like now like backyard wrestling can be so much, and you can accomplish so much in backyard wrestling.
Yes.
Some people say you don't even have to go pro. Because like we got yard companies with rings that you can scratch that itch.
Right.
Um, but man, I mean, backyard wrestling has we can both say backyard wrestling has given us so much, you know, in memories and
Yep.
whatever.
And that's the thing too is with my kids, right? It's like I had a tough childhood. I was always moving from place to place. I was always going from school to school, and my oldest is 4, turning 5 this year. Will be
Same.
starting
Look at us.
kindergarten
Look
this
at
year.
us. Parallel. Same. My daughter's 4
Right.
too. She's about to be 5.
Yep.
My daughter just got
Yep.
accepted into a charter school for kindergarten.
Really.
Yep.
See, we're still doing. We have to. We got to put in our papers yet because they told us we had to wait till January to do that.
I mean,
So
dude,
we're gonna be
I know
starting to
this is
do
a
that.
wrestling podcast, but dude, it is so
Yeah.
it's so scary sending kids to school.
Yes.
And
Yep. Yep.
the
Yep.
charter school, it's a fairly new school from what we've seen. It opened up recently, but like, we tried going for like a charter private school ish because, dude, it is so scary sending your kids to school fearing that
Yes.
they're gonna get shot up or they're in danger,
Yeah.
dude.
It's really scary. It's terrifying. It's something that like you can't exactly prepare for. It's something that you would have to deal with if that ever happened, and you don't want that to happen.
I know,
And
dude. At the preschool, daycare, VPK, whatever you want to call it, all the same shit. A kid
mhm.
a kid was like, "I'm gonna bring in a gun to school for show and tell." We're
Jesus
talking about like
Christ.
3 to 4 year olds.
Yeah,
The
that's
school had to
wild.
close
Oh,
down and
wow.
go on. The school had to close down for the day or whatever, and
Jeez.
it's a
What
scary
the
world out
hell?
there. It is a
It is.
scary
What
world.
a crazy world, dude. And the other thing is too is like not even take all that away, right? And now you got to deal with now your kids are dealing with like just a change in their life going to school. My wife currently works at the Y,
Hmm.
and when she's working there, we're able to get a pretty decent discount on having
Yep,
our kids go to
another
school over there.
connection. Draven Solis works at the YMCA up in his area.
That's crazy. What the heck? But so the kids go to school there now, throughout the week. Like that's their school, and they learn, they have fun, they have connections, stuff you do in kindergarten, whatever. Um, learn how to draw, learn how to read, learn how to write, all that stuff. And sometimes when you drop your kids off, sometimes they don't want you to leave.
Yep.
Sometimes they,
Yep.
don't want to stay there, start crying, and it's like, damn, that's tough
My
because
my, my daughter,
it's optional now, but once they start school, it's like you have to go,
oh no, my,
and
my,
it's
my
like,
daughter, she still does that to this day. She still has
mm-hmm,
hesitation about going to class and like, yeah, no, like,
yep,
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't cry the first day of like daycare or whatever, but like, I think I'm
mm-hmm.
gonna cry my eyes out for like, because I'm not gonna, like, deep
And
down inside, it does break my heart when she does that. I'm not like an emotional guy who
it
likes
does.
to cry, but like, it really does. It
Right. I can agree. It's funny. It's funny because I told myself, and not like a pride thing or like a ego thing or whatever, but I told myself, my wife too. I told her, I said, when we have our kids, like when she gives birth, I said, I don't think I'm gonna cry. I just don't think I like
dude,
it's an amazing moment. It is, but I just don't think I will cry for it, dude. I weep like a baby for all three.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't cry during the births of my children, mostly
Mhm.
because I'm not a blood guy like that. Like, obviously, I can watch wrestling and blood, but like when it's like right there and
Oh,
it's like
right.
blood, like pregnancy, like birth blood. I
Yeah.
I I dude, I remember for my daughter's birth, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to pay attention and shit. I saw this red Jello substance come out, and I was nope. I didn't look. I didn't cut no umbilical cord. I couldn't do it. Cause like
Really?
I
No
was
kidding.
like I was ready to vomit with that shit. It was horrible.
Wow. No shit.
For my
That's
son,
crazy.
I completely almost missed my son's birth because
Really?
for my son, he tried coming out so goddamn quick. We barely made it to the hospital. Like,
Wow.
so we get to the hospital, we go to the pregnancy and labor like side of the hospital. The door's
Oh,
locked.
wow. So you guys had that like I'm going into labor moment.
Yeah. Like, I
That's
remember, so for my
that's
daughter,
great.
I was at work and my
Mhm.
girl, she was chilling at home and her water broke. And
Wow.
she was like, "Okay, yeah, we got to go." And then obviously, like, we get to the hospital, contractions start kicking in, and it was like a normal whatever. No, my son.
Yep.
So we're at home, we're eating steaks, we're just chilling. My daughter, she's in bed. We're just chilling for the night. All of a sudden,
Yep.
she starts getting some cramps and pain or whatever. Then like it became. She was like, oh shit. Uh, what do you call it? She was like, oh shit. I think I'm going into labor. Like I'm getting contractions. So then it's like,
Wow.
oh fuck. So then I had to call my mom to come watch my
Yeah.
daughter because I don't know how it is up there or like how it is for you or whatever, but like you can't have you can't have people younger than 18 in the it's 18
Hmm.
or 16. They can't be in the labor and delivery.
Really?
Yeah, and they can't stay there overnight either. So like I had to
What
call my
if?
mom. I had to get my mom to come over to watch my daughter, and then like we had a and just contractions were getting worse and worse, quick and quick.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
like fucking um that's going on, and she literally almost gave birth like on the fucking side of the road or whatever. And
Dude.
then what do you call it? We get to the hospital, the door's locked. So it's like
To the
okay,
hospital?
the fucking labor and delivery side because it's like
Oh
separate.
wow.
So because they have their own entrance. You know, obviously
Yeah, okay.
you can get to there through the actual hospital, but like their entrance locked. And I drove her up to the door because like shit was getting like she was starting to feel the need to push. So like
Oh my
I drove her
gosh.
to the door, door's locked. So I was like, walk to the emergency room because you got to get inside. I was like, I'll go
Yep.
park the car. Okay, so I parked the car. I go through the emergency room, and I'm like, okay, yo, my wife, she just came in here. She's in labor. I got to get to her.
Yep.
The they started asking questions or whatever. So then they get me over to the labor and delivery side or whatever. They bring
Hmm.
me to the wrong room. I walk into some other fucking woman giving birth. I'm like, whoa, I'm not
No
trying to
shit.
catch no child support. That's not my wife. That's not my
Right.
kid. And
Right.
so then they get to they finally bring me to her, and she's like she's starting to push already.
Oh my goodness.
So like he came out
Dude,
like
that's
quick. Like
wild.
we didn't really have no goddamn time to like react or whatever. But like
Yeah.
shit's nauseating. Shit's it's like I'm not the one to like look at all that shit and like I can't.
Right.
I'll vomit. I'll puke. That shit's wild.
See that's crazy.
But
Like I never
to
had that
to
feeling.
give me some credit, I do cry. Like I remember, like all their shots that they get, I still cry.
Yeah.
That shit breaks my heart. Um,
Sure.
my daughter playing around, had to get her teeth removed because she like
Hmm.
playing around, she fell and cracked her tooth or whatever. And I'm not gonna
Oh.
lie, I cried so hard when she got her teeth removed. It broke my heart.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Right. Right.
That is so wild, yeah.
Yeah.
But to get
It's
back on
crazy how
wrestling,
much kids. It's crazy how much kids change you. You know.
dude, yeah, for real. Dude, like kids change your like they really change your whole like your outlook and like who you
Yep.
are as a person because like you really kind of do have to like change your ways and like
Oh
because they
yeah. Bro.
depend on you.
So much.
But to get back on wrestling before we wind this up, man, this has been a blast talking to you.
Yes. Of course. Likewise.
So you are a belt collector. People see on your social media you have a collection of replica belts. So before we
I
wrap
do.
this up, I want to ask you what is your favorite belt that you've collected?
Well, so I've got undeniably, and this was because this was always my childhood title that I always wanted, the belt that I always wanted. And in my opinion, probably biasly due to me growing up with this belt, in my opinion, the greatest title design. I know that I'm in the minority when I say that, but the spinner title,
Yep.
that's my favorite championship. It's the belt I've always wanted, and that was it. Surprisingly, not the first one I ever got due to the pricing, but it was the second one I got,
Dude,
and it was
the
the first real
WWE
replica I
shop
got.
belts are expensive as fuck.
Dude, oh my god! Don't even tell me. It's like, ugh, so much.
The
It's
spinner, dude.
dumb.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This may be like biasy because like we grew up on the spinner, but I think the spinner is the best WWE title. Period.
Right. I think so. It just it speaks. It doesn't just it's funny because people are like, oh, it only fit on John Cena, and it fit on. It's like I don't. For one, I don't agree with that because
It
I
looks
think
so
that,
good on everybody, like Orton, Punk, Hardy.
Dude, when Ray held it for the hour that he held it, right?
The spinner
Dude,
really
it
is the
looked great
best.
on Ray.
Besides that, hot take, I really dug the the new cruiserweight title, the purple strap one.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That shit's maybe like number two. I'm not gonna lie, but the spinner,
That I tell you what, that current or new cruiserweight title is way better than the OG.
to be honest. So I mean,
Way
you've
better.
you've collected so many belts.
Yes. But yeah. So, and the funny part is about the spinner belt too is my first ever wrestling event that I went to. It was a WWE live event, and it was in Denver, Colorado. Because at the time I was living in Colorado. I lived in Colorado for a year, and I lived about an hour north of Denver. And we went down to Denver for the day, and we went to the Pepsi Center, which is what it was called at the time. I don't believe it is currently called the Pepsi Center. I don't know what the name of the arena is now, but at the time it was called the Pepsi Center. And we went there and we watched a WWE live event, and it was really cool. The main event was John Cena versus Alberto Del Rio for the WWE title. Del Rio was champ at the time, and Cena won the match, but R-Truth and The Miz came out and beat him up. And so it was a house show. The title wasn't obviously changing. Little me didn't know that, but the title wasn't changing. But Cena had to win, so they gave him the DQ win, whatever. But it was just cool seeing John Cena. The only live event I've ever been to where I have saw John Cena, who is my favorite wrestler of all time,
Same,
undeniably.
same, yep, same.
But at that event, there was a dude sitting maybe an aisle or two down from me, and he had the spinner belt. And I was like, dude, I again love that belt, and that's the belt I've always wanted. And so I mustered up the courage with my mom being there to go walk up to him and ask if there was any way I could hold the belt and take a picture with the title. And he had no problem with it. He was chill about it. He's like, oh yeah, sure, cool, go ahead. So I felt it, and dude, that title for a little, 11-year-old, 10-year-old CJ
Yep.
was like so heavy. And I took a picture with it. There's a picture. I don't know. I've tried to look for it, and I cannot find it. And one of these days, I hope to find it. But there's a picture of little CJ with the red John Cena Never Give Up shirt, and I'm holding the spinner belt, and that was the first time I ever got to hold like a real, not like Walmart toy wrestling belt. And I was like, dude, this is like I fell in love, and
I no, like
it was I had to get that
the
belt.
day
So
I buy like a non Walmart replica, it has to be the spinner. I'm not gonna lie, it has to be the
of
spinner.
course, yes, can't go wrong with the spinner.
So
Despite what the old heads say, I mean, because hey, we're becoming old heads ourselves, but despite what the older heads say,
I mean, it
spinner
looked
belt
cool as a product. It
undeniably
looked
best.
cool as like a toy. It's all around. It's just goaded. There's really no,
Yeah,
there's really no discussion. Um,
right. And I think it speaks well for just how the 2000s were.
yeah,
That title just kind of defines that era for me. Not just in wrestling, just in pop culture in general.
no, I feel that. So it's been a pleasure talking to you. We've been almost talking for 2 hours, and it's honestly felt like 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
There's
Jeez.
so much more we can also talk about. But
Yes.
we'll save it for another episode. So real quick before we get off of here, I think it's good to reflect and really be, and come to terms about your journey in wrestling. So before we end
Yes.
off this podcast, what are some things that you are grateful for in your backyard wrestling journey?
Um, I'm just grateful for the people who've uh, helped with me and worked with me along the way. That's people who are up here, who wrestle for the channel, um, past and present. Those who may not do it to this day, and those who are still currently doing it to this day. I appreciate them all. It's again, it's kind of really a childhood dream to be able to do this. It might be silly to say, but it really is, and
I mean,
it's just
I mean,
cool to experience
but
it.
hey, regardless of where we're at, where we're doing it, we're still wrestling, and we can, in
Yes,
some ways,
right.
call ourselves wrestlers still.
Yep, that's true. Hey, and it's something to even if it turns into nothing career wise. it's always going to be something to look back on and just relive through. Which I mean, I still do even to this day. I'll go back and watch old shit. You know,
Thank
I
you,
think I
thank
watched.
you. I do that. I do the same shit too. Some people find it weird, but
Right,
I watch my old. I watch my matches. I watch my old shit too.
dude. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I might watch Legendary Backyard Wrestling more than anybody else does watch our channel. To be honest,
I feel that. I
you
will
know.
admit I feel that. And like, the cool thing about it also too is like when I go back and watch like a certain old match, like it brings me back to that time. So then like it spawns other memories of like that week we did this, or like, during that period I
Yep.
was going through this or whatever. I feel that.
See, that's right. Yeah, because it kind of helps you maybe if you're trying to come up with a sort of a storyline or a plan. It just also helps you like, oh, what can we bring back? But also something too to kind of go out with is with doing backyard wrestling too is it like I said it kind of gives you something to watch. And dude, my kids love the backyard wrestling stuff. They love watching it. They're always sitting there and they're cheering on. If you ever watch any of the stuff, you'll hear the kids in the back, you know, booing, cheering, doing their thing, whatever. As a matter of fact, actually, at Haunted Hellfest 4, biggest crowd we've had. It's not loud, but we had, and there's 34, 35 people show up in our crowd, which, yeah, it's not the biggest crowd ever, but it was big for us. It was really cool. Um, my kids were there. They watched the whole thing. They had fun. They enjoyed it. And as a matter of fact, in our costume Royal Rumble that we had, my son was in the Royal
Hey,
Rumble, and he came out as baby Ghostface, and it was
no.
because
My
they
my
love
kids know
they
about
love horror
FB.
movies too.
My kids know about FBW. They know mommy and daddy, or more daddy, wrestles on the trampoline with Uncle Chris and like all of
Yep,
them. And
that's
they've watched they watched our videos. Yeah.
that's crazy because Aruda, their name's Chris. That's their uncle, and that's Uncle Chris to them.
Oh, my daughter loves Uncle Chris. Oh my god. They
Yep.
were over here, taping or whatever. She was ready to go home with him. She's like, "Up, he's my favorite now." But
Yeah.
shit,
Right.
dude, it's shit. One time, my daughter was watching and she tried storming the ring. It was me versus Chris, 30-minute Iron Man, Karma 21.
Oh
My
well.
my daughter tried storming the ring. She was ready to get into the action. That is
Yeah, I
so
love that,
funny.
dude. See, this is again, this is something too for the kids to have. Like, it's who knows? Maybe when they get older, if that's something that they want to do, I want them to continue on the
No,
channel.
oh,
You know,
100%. Yeah, no. I mean,
they have a lot of cousins. I mean, I have the three kids of my own, and then they have a lot of cousins their age that they could get through. Maybe if they want to get them on, or maybe they make their own friends and they want their friends to do it. If their friends want to, who knows? I want my channel to survive with them if they ever so choose to decide to do backyard wrestling.
because I mean, like for me and FBW will always be with me. I mean, I'm always gonna show off my stuff and all my wrestling stuff. I'm proud
Hmm.
of FBW. I'm not gonna lie.
I can agree.
But brother, it's been an absolute honor having you on here. I know it's been way too long since we've done one of these. Like our last one
Yes.
was yeah, like 2021 ish.
Yep.
The Undisputable podcast, whatever year that was, 2021, 2022. But
Yes,
brother,
sir.
it's been
Yes,
an
sir.
absolute honor. I also want to thank you publicly right here for doing everything you do, repping the Backyard Wrestling Nexus and being part of that. But real
Of course.
quick before I end off this podcast, any last comments you want to get out there before I wrap this bad boy up?
Yes, sir. So real quick, I'll just get this out there. LBW 2024 award, no, 2024 award ceremony will be dropping soon. There is a special match on there to happen as well. That will be at the very end of it. Very cool. And then of course all the awards that were happening. I wanted to thank everybody again for being any what relation to LBW, helping out, whether you're a wrestler, and I thanked everyone on the awards show as well, whether you're a wrestler, whether you're there to help film, to help decorate, set up, plan, if you were there as a crowd member. I also want to thank, of course, yourself, Aries. I want to thank the Reverend Tom Bryce for everything that you guys do for the community and for helping us out whenever we need help. You guys are there to help us out. It's always a pleasure having that there, and even just doing something simple as this, being in interviews with you and with Tom. It's good to just kind of do all this kind of stuff and still be in the world of backyard wrestling without having to be in the backyard wrestling, and it's really cool. So I appreciate that. Appreciate all the hard work you guys do. Stay tuned for the award show coming out. The new season will be dropping soon for LBW, and to SBW. Just keep that in the back of your mind. But yeah, no, for real though. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Aries, for having me on. Appreciate it, and this is always fun to do.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the second episode of SmackYard. Guys, if you guys been enjoying this podcast series, I know we've only done one other. Definitely hit that subscribe button and definitely check out LBYW and check out what is SBW? It's like Skull Busting Wrestling or some
Uh,
wild shit like that.
yes, Skull Buster Wrestling. Yes.
I'll find some links and I'll remember to put them in the description. But definitely, guys, check out our sponsors of SmackYard Radio, Sports Wire. You can listen, or if you already are listening, via the Listen Now button on the Sports Wire Radio website. And check out Backyard Wrestling Nexus if you guys want to find a nice home and mixtape of some of the best backyard wrestling in today's generation. But ladies and gentlemen, it's been Anthony Aries, the host of SmackYard Radio, with the legendary alpha of backyard wrestling, CJ Jundt.